Hello everyone. I'm here in the church on the evening of March 22nd, the Sunday of Lent 4. This is our second Sunday that we haven't been able to meet, and I for one miss our gatherings very, very much. I miss our prayers, and I miss that sense of community, and that's what I wanted to speak about just for a few moments, the nature of community. In one of the very first sentences or prayers that we all share together every Eucharist, at the beginning of the Eucharist, we hear Jesus say, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love your neighbor as yourself." And that tells us right away of the importance of loving our neighbor. We cannot separate our love of God from our love of neighbor, and we can't separate our love of neighbor from our love of God. And I was reminded of this today, thinking about the phone call I had earlier today with George Springer of Charlie's Barbershop. I love going into Charlie's Barbershop, and I love listening to George, and Sandy, as a matter of fact. I told Sandy not too long ago she should be a stand-up comedian, George's daughter. She said, "I am a stand-up comedian. I'm standing up all day," which I thought was very funny. I've taken my guitar into the shop at the spur of the moment, plunked myself down in a barber's chair with my guitar, and had a pop-up concert, playing a few John Prine tunes, and had some fun doing that. And I've got a nice video of that event. So our community is important to us, and not just the community of the church, but the community of the world, the community of Grimsby. We're all made in God's image. We're all, as Eugene Peterson says, we're all in the same boat, the boat of humanity together. And we share in the Holy Spirit of God. Not one thing has come into being without God, we're told in the Gospel of John. So the nature of our community is tied up very much in the nature of God. And in a very real way, our seeking after God is done through our seeking for community, our living in community. We could almost say that we live through our community to God. And if we had been here today in church, we would have heard St. Paul say to us very directly, "You are light," which of course reminds us of what Jesus said, "You are a city set on a hill." We have a very shallow understanding of the dignity we contain. In the second letter of Peter, in chapter 1, verse 4, we are told that we are called to participate in the very nature of God. That's an awesome thought. And we participate most fully in the nature of God when we participate most fully in the nature of our community. So during this time of social separation and practicing distancing and all of that, and as we do carry these anxious feelings, we need to keep praying for one another, keep one another in mind. And that certainly is a prayer. And as we seek one another out and take care of one another, we are participating in the very nature of God. Or as Brother Lawrence from the Middle Ages said, we are practicing the presence of God. And that's what we miss when we don't gather on the Sabbath. But we don't need to miss it in our hearts or as we move about the town in a very careful way. Just because we're not meeting on the Sabbath doesn't mean that we're not journeying together. We are journeying together. And through that journeying together, we are being born into a new dimension of intimacy and care, which will bring forth new life for us when the time comes for us to gather again on the Sabbath day. So every blessing to all of you. And we'll be seeing one another soon. Take care. Every blessing.